be directly trying to deal with. The second is time on learning, and that bumps into electives and study halls. As we said to you at the last meeting, if we make these cuts, we'll have to put middle school students particularly in at least one study hall a day, and study halls cannot be counted unless it's a directed study toward time on learning. So we would be below time on learning if all of these cuts are made, and we will have to work with the teachers to figure out an alternative way to look at the schedule, because it will not work. So in any of these override discussions and any of these items, time on learning and trying to eliminate or reduce greatly the need to put children in study halls and to provide enough electives so that we don't have to put students in study halls, but also the class sizes don't go up to 28 to 30 kids as a standard, as opposed to where we have a couple of classes at that range now. We would be increasing the number of classes that would be at that range. We've heard over and over from people we want to at least maintain our core programs. But we also hear from people that we don't want school to be just about reading, writing, and arithmetic, that we want to deliver the comprehensive education that children in Georgetown have received for as long as people in this town can remember. And so maintaining core programs is important, and we're trying to address that with these things. Reasonable class sizes, rising fees for co-curricular activities, maintenance of the schools, and small technology upgrades. So with those factors, and these are not ones we made up, these are ones that we have heard from the people we've talked to. These are the things they care about. And certainly, we've made the case in our impact statements that these are all important things. So what you have in your spreadsheet here are two options. So what Terry and I did is we sat together, and obviously you see at the top those numbered priorities. They're not in a number of priorities. They're just the factors I just read, assigned to a number so we can link it. We then looked at, these all fall into 4 categories. We have the category of instructional program support, we have buildings and grounds, we have co-curricular, and we have technology. So if you follow across the spreadsheet, what you'll see is in the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, first page, those are all related to instructional program support, direct benefit to the children. All of the items that were on the 642 list that was in the school committee approved budget are on this list with the dotted lines. So where you see the dotted lines, those are all the things that you kept on the list that was on the proposed cut list.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, so 1.0
anything in a dot is stuff that we saved.
You
we
saved
wanted
it.
to
You saved it.
We proposed to save.
You saved it.
642.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Anything that was not on your list is not on this list.
Okay.
Because we're assuming you cut it. Okay? So if you go down and you just look at any one of the things here, you'll see the amount of the increase, the category it falls into, and what priorities or what numbers of the areas that we're trying to address this matches. So there's a direct link. There's a what does this do column, which tells you, okay, so if this makes it onto the list, the override list, this is what it does. This is the advantage to it. This is what you get out of it. And then this location just tells us, so because we can sort this any way we want, right? If we want to just sort it by building, we can do that as well. And then, of course, you see the running total. So in the first level of override, which is, Ann and Ann asked us to look at an 872,089, which is level services. All right? So what you basically have is the 642 items, plus you have 257, 176 that you could choose, if you want to go with that number, you could choose from this list and plug it in. So you could say, we think it's important to deal with the issue of electives. We don't want any kids in study hall, so we are going to pick off of this list.
But see, that's not
one
really,
elective teacher.
Correct me if I'm wrong. It's not any kids in study hall, and we're looking at, in some cases like 100 kids in study hall, right?
You are if you don't maintain,
right.
if you cut the things on the list.
The only thing that, just for anyone that's doing the math, the 642 and 257 gets it at 899. The $27,000 difference is because we're required to get to 11,550, which is net school spending.
That's right. Thank you, Ann, for
which
clarifying
is
that.
just
That's
in
important.
case anyone's sitting there
Doing
trying
the
to
math,
add
saying,
up.
that doesn't add up, right, that
Yeah.
doesn't add up.
It's important to know that we have to hit that net school spending number.
Right. So, the first 2 pages are the instructional support categories. Actually, the first 3 pages fall into that.
Right.
And then you'll see there's some suggestions for buildings and grounds. There's 4 of those, 2 that fall into co-curricular, and T that fall into technology. All right? So this, okay, first override option, if you go with 879, 872,089 is the items in the dots and anything else you'd like to add. Okay?
So that doesn't mirror up to this at all, anyway. This is.
No.
That's a different sheet.
That's why
Okay.
I'm explaining it to you.
Alright.
Where how it mirrors, Eric, is you already have the dotted things,
Yeah.
and you know what other things could be added and how they link back to those identified priorities.
Alright.
Okay, but you guys have to ultimately put the things on that you feel are going to give the most value add. And of course, you can do a 642 if you prefer to do that. We're just giving you the options based on what we heard our task was. The second override is what's in front of you here. And that is, it totals 1.205944. And it includes, I mean, I don't know if do people have copies that you can look at? I don't want to,
The problem,
Alright,
well, the
well,
problem is, and we did this a couple meetings ago, obviously I wasn't at the last one.
yeah.
Nobody in town knows what any
I
of these
know,
things are.
I know.
It's
So.
too bad we couldn't have put it on the screen.
Well, they all know,
But-
the record put in the cuts, so
True.
they know what
Yeah,
would come
the-
back.
But
I mean, that's
we're
that's
talking
pretty
dotted
public.
line here and.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
know.
but that-
The
I
dotted
know.
line is what's
It's
published
basically
already.
the cut list comes
So
back.
if you're
Right.
wondering,
Exactly.
yeah, the cut list comes back.
Okay, so,
Now, I think
So how do you
in
wanna-
light of a 1 point, I think when you look at the 800, whatever the eight is,
yeah.
and then 1.2 million, and then some number above that, I think what we have to kind of look forward to is where are we gonna be next year and
Right.
the year after, so that
Right.
if we're gonna just be cognizant of that, so that next year when we're looking at a new school and we're also looking at operating issues, I don't think that's gonna be the time to be coming back for another operating
Oh, no.
problem.
No, definitely not.
Just
I-
a, the fees are addressed where here?
Okay, the fees are
The
addressed
end.
on
The
the
last
end.
page, I think.
Those are reduced.
Right,
Yeah,
they're
they're
reduced,
reduced.
and the reason they're reduced is because
We can
what
add-
we're trying to do, is to get ahead of the problem, because if we just reduce them back to level, and the program continues to cost what it costs, we're gonna be to
Well,
six
the program's
hundred,
gonna continue
you
to
know, in
cost
2
more.
years. So the goal here was,
gonna cost
and
what it costs.
what you also
That's
have
good.
on your
That's good.
desk, or your table here, is just the most updated, this came today actually, the updated fees, you know, from that gentleman who does them across the state. And it's just interesting, I was just looking today at the sports column,
I don't have that.
and, oh, I thought we were putting it
Do you
on your
have
desk. Here, I'll pass it around, just for your information.
I don't have, I won't look at that now.
Well,
I'll get it later.
basically what you'll see is that the most of the people in the state, if they're not below $100, they're in the 125 to 350 range. So, again, you can pick whatever number you want. Our goal, we thought, was to try to get the fees to a place where we weren't going to continue to impact the participation of our students, and we were going to address the NEASC concern about access
Equity.
and equity for students, because co-curricular is part of the curricular program.
And this is an advantageous time to do this, as we are going to be negotiating the new teacher's contract next year, and the coaches' salaries are in that contract. So, you know,
I mean,
reducing them now for next year, and then going forward, we'll have at least a little bit better idea of what the cost that will, because they will increase other areas, but we can maybe control the coaching costs a little bit more.
We built this on the participation level that we were working off of, which was 540 students. in terms of participation level. If these
But
fees,
can I,
yes,
you have 540 kids, different children playing sports at the high school, or is that 500?
Fees, 540 fees.
40 fees we
paid.
collect.
Fee. So,
But I understand, but,
Some are multiple.
yeah, some are multiple.
sports.
Some are multiple,
Right.
absolutely.
so do we know what the,
Do we know the number of athletes?
I don't
No?
know that we know that. It's different people. I'm sure we could get that information. You want to do
Yeah,
that?
I would like that.
Okay.
well, didn't we realize that some 27 families use the family cap?
Yes.
We did, we
27
found
is
that
the cap,
information
yep.
out. You asked us
Yeah.
that. You asked us that.
We don't know how.
Yeah.
We don't know how many
Yeah.
But there's a
sports
difference
they play.
between, you know, a family hitting a family cap that has 3 kids playing 3 different sports and and a family with 1 child,
Yeah.
you know, playing 3 sports themselves. So,
and then
it, you know,
putting money into the budget that's going to affect how many people when you look
that's right.
at it, you know, at the entire number.
And
if I
what
can
we
get
were
that,
trying
that'd
to
be
do
helpful.
was to figure out, you know, we know the program's gonna continue to raise, to cost, and we may have to continue to raise fees, but starting from this level and then raising is very different than starting at 450 and then continuing to raise. Again, it's up to the committee. We're offering this only as a
Right.
point of discussion,
Mm-hmm.
but we have heard from members of the community that they feel it is important to address the fees. Many people in town, even if they've raised their children, you know, have acknowledged that their children didn't have to pay fees for their child to participate in these sports programs, so.
And Dan
Yes,
had-
but every town, I mean, really, in reality, how many towns have no fee?
There are a couple, but you're absolutely right, there are
That's-
fees.
yeah,
Well,
it's not a
the-
reality
and
And
anymore.
all
The
we're,
reality
and all we're
is people
trying to figure out
pay.
is what's reasonable and what's gonna allow us to
Yeah, but if you
continue
look
to have
at,
participation.
if you look at that list that they provide us, there are a lot of towns that have, you know, family cap of like 500, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know,
I mean,
I
there's a
understand, but they're
huge
still
difference
paying. They're
between-
still paying.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
there's
well,
But is there anything that, is this list, I don't see anything about buses in here.
We didn't put buses in
Okay.
here. But we did in the next round, the next level of an override. But again,
Beyond the
that's-
1.2?
Again, we're only
So-
we're only suggesting some things for your discussion. Anything can be removed or added to this list.
Are there bus fees
There,
in here?
there are
No,
bus
Okay.
fee,
Nothing in there.
if this were to be the case, and we do not put any money in for a bus, replace the 46,000, we would be continuing to, we would be charging a bus fee next year.
And
so this
there-
one too includes a bus fee unless
Yes,
it
Whatever-
does include charging a bus fee.
yes.
Yes,
Okay.
this includes
Correct me if
charging.
I'm wrong, whatever bus fee we charge isn't gonna pay for the bus, right? Some extra money has to go into the budget for busing, does it not?
Well, we looked at all
We did
those
$1 a
numbers.
day, which is what was being talked about at $200, that doesn't cover,
No, but
No, that
$46,000 bus.
No.
No, it
But-
has to be close to.
But it was
800.
half.
if you follow the state law and now everybody in 7 through 12 pays,
right?
it works.
It works.
It does.
Either that, or because people are paying, they won't choose to ride, which would mean you need 4 buses instead of 5.
'Cause you're,
So we recover the cost.
So this
you're only
is
getting $200, but you're getting 5
It's
buses
probably
at
there.
$200.
so this
Right.
includes changing the busing as we currently know. it.
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
Yeah, it doesn't take care of that.
You will not have, regardless of what decisions, unless you add buses, a significant number of buses, you're going to have to go to a 2-mile limit, or you will not be able to accommodate the middle high school.
No, well,
What you plan to do anyway, you were
we
talking
have
about
to.
that.
I mean,
Right.
statutorily, we're getting our minimum, so statutorily.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
You'll notice in some of these, again, what this does, you know, is I think spelled out in all these. But one of the things that a lot of parents have said, you know, is that they're sort of tired of paying for the amount of money that for supplies and materials, you know, that their children don't even have the basic supplies, that they're sending in paper towels and hand sanitizers and all of those things. So one of the things that we were proposing was to add some money in here so that we would be able to buy basic supplies, would be able to buy supplies for our book closets.
It goes
if we
past
need
that. I
them.
think our teachers deserve the basic supplies without the burden of having to have a mother in
Relying
class
on
go out
us.
and ask and
And
get it
what
for
was
them.
what was, Terry, we've been going back and forth about, you know, how much per student. Do you recall what this,
This
what
says
this
50.
78?
This
Based on $50 per student?
Oh, there it is, I say it, $50 a student, right. We also looked,
And the state
because we're
average.
trying to be statistical.
The state average on supplies is
State
what?
average is $392.
$392, and we're doing 50.
Well, no, we're not
$50
doing 50,
increase.
we're doing
That would be
significantly.
$615,000 in
Yeah,
supplies.
exactly. So what we did
Wouldn't that be
was,
nice?
we went and looked at
Get gold paper.
communities that were